Mr. President, I have a question for all of my colleagues this evening, which is what happened here today? And how is it different from what we expected as we assembled in this chamber early this afternoon? Sadly, much like the impeachment trial of just a year ago, I think as many of us slogged our way to the nation's capital and dutifully filed into this chamber, we expected hours and hours of debate and discussion, knowing the outcome, knowing that what was being engaged in by a handful of our colleagues was a political stunt, feeding the ego of our president, who is chasing conspiracy theories about how he actually won the election 2 months ago that he lost, and indulging his belief that somehow, the Congress could still at the last moment snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Even in the last day, President Trump had been haranguing his own incredibly loyal Vice President, Mike Pence, as if somehow Vice President Pence would simply declare him president today. We knew that President Trump had been stirring up the spirits of thousands, urging them to come to Washington. We had an inkling that he might go out and speak to them, but I don't think as we filed into this chamber, any of us expected that for the second time in our republic's history, the perimeter of this Capitol would be breached, members of the Senate would be rushed to safety, that not just the Capitol Police, but U.S. Marshals and FBI officers and fully combat-geared soldiers would be in the United States Capitol, taking it back from a riotous mob of thugs. Just a few moments ago, I went to the rotunda to see the litter and the trash, the residue and the remnants of those who took over this building today, and to say thank you to the men and women of law enforcement who helped secure it after it fell to an angry mob. But folks, we have to think about the consequences of what happened here today, why this happened and what it means and what it teaches. Because frankly, tonight, now, the whole world is watching. The entire world is watching a montage of scenes of folks cavorting in the Capitol, half-naked men taking that seat, scrawling things on different surfaces, parading up and down the Capitol corridors with a Confederate flag, with a Trump flag, and in other ways signaling that they had done something significant. No, in fact, what they've actually done is weakened our democracy, showed some of its fragility, and encouraged our opponents around the world. In the last 2 months since the election, we have one man who has abandoned his post, who has mostly spent his time golfing and tweeting and indulging himself in conspiracy theories and been less and less attuned to our national security and to a raging pandemic. And another man, our president-elect, who is preparing to take over the responsibility for leading this country out of this pandemic and out of its current state of deep, deep division. President Trump has abandoned his post. He does not deserve to be president any longer, and he poses a real and present threat to the future of our democracy. But let me also say this to my colleagues, half of whom changed their intended vote today after seeing what happened in the Capitol. There were, as we began, roughly 13 senators, Republicans, who said they were going to vote against the certification of the election. And when we actually finally called the roll, it was just 6, 7 of them having been chastened by the events of today. But 2 who continue on this quest, clerked for the Supreme Court Chief Justice, are deeply schooled in the law, know better than what they did today. And in the count and the debate going on over in the House, even now, more than 100 House Republicans continue with this effort. On this floor earlier today, this evening, there were strong and clear and brave speeches by Republicans and Democrats alike. So I have a question as we move forward. When will this fever break? When will we finally say to each other, enough is enough of indulging and following populism and demagoguery? Is it time to finally show who the leaders are? and to uphold our Constitution that every one of the House members and a third of us swore to uphold just 3 days ago? I will tell you as I look ahead that I am confident that 2 weeks from now, Joseph Biden will be sworn in as the next president, Kamala Harris sworn in as the next vice president, and we have a unique moment in my lifetime. Because as presidents and leaders in the Senate of both parties over the last decades have observed, the Senate has steadily shrunk in its significance, its role, and its power, and the presidency has steadily grown. Not in my lifetime, not since LBJ, have we had an incoming president who spent 36 years in this chamber. We have a chance with Joe Biden, a president-elect who ran on bringing our country together, a president-elect who ran on turning the page from our moment of national division, a president-elect who respects and honors and understands the significance of this body. So we have to take this opportunity to heal, to hear each other, to compromise, to work together, and to see the real challenges facing the American people and take this last, best moment. What happened here today should leave all of us gravely concerned about the health and the future of our democracy, and the opportunity we will have 2 weeks from today is one we should not let pass us by. Thank you, Mr. President. With that, I yield the floor.